Hey, everybody. Just wanted to jump in. We know that it's a little bit later than April. This was April's book, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
We get a little bit behind, and hey, we're sticking to our challenge, but our monthly marriage reading, what do we call this thing?
Book of the month.
Book of the month, marriage book. We have committed to reading 12 marriage books this year in 2024. So many of you are reading along with us, but we promised that we would also kind of give our insights, almost like a little mini book review. And so April's book is or was Secrets of Sex and Marriage, 8 Surprises That Make All the Difference. And this is by Shanti Feldhahn and Dr. Michael Seitzma. Man, I mean, why we pick two? I mean, okay, we need like a John Smith to write, be part of this book. But hey, I'll just put it right there. That's kind of cool. So we read this book, really good book. So here's one of the things that we talked about when we started doing this. We wanted to make sure, because a lot of you sent in recommendations, and a lot of those were about sex. Mm-hmm. And so we know it's something that people want to learn about and read about and understand better in their marriage. And so we decided we would do at least one, but we didn't want every book to be about sex, obviously. Yeah. But I'm gonna tell you, I was really excited. I like sex, so
yes, you do.
So I wanted to make sure that we read this, and super good book. So let me just say, this was my first reaction. Oh, sorry, my first reaction to this book was this is a man and a woman writing this book about sex, and they're not married.
Yeah.
And it caused me to have a little bit of a checkup and a little bit of a cringe, although I know who both of these people are and I respect them very much. But for me, because of the boundaries that we have in place and all that, I thought, man, I don't know how healthy it is for a man and a lady that are not married to be discussing sex like this.
Well, and they're both very knowledgeable about because they've studied this and they have lots of percentages and, it's very scientific.
Research driven.
Yeah, which made it a little bit more comfortable.
It does, and that's what I was going to say. Okay. They did a really, really good job of that. Like it wasn't extremely personal. And I mean, there were some funny stories throughout, and a little bit of this is how I feel, and this is my personality, that kind of thing. But for the most part, it was very research driven. Like
and
you said.
It could have been they didn't sit down together and write
it. That's right. I mean, we don't know how. But I wanted to address that because I don't know if anybody else would have had that same. Ooh, that's weird.
Well, and obviously we haven't talked about this because I had the same feeling, but it wasn't that. It was, I want there to be more of the this is how we do it.
Yeah.
Right. Because it's easy. It's going to be easy for these people listening to take what we learn, and it's still going to be different from their story, because it's a man and a woman that you're the only two people like that in the world. And so sex is a very intimate thing for that reason.
Yeah.
Because it's, there's nobody else like you.
Yeah.
And so, but I wanted a little bit more. I was hoping when I saw it, I was like, well, that's going to be weird because they're not going to get to tell personal stories.
Right.
But there were a little bit of that in that.
But that was just kind of my first reaction and my only thought. And so I was like, well, maybe some other people have that same thought, maybe not. But if they do, I could address it and be able to say, it's not weird. It wasn't uncomfortable or anything like that. They did a great job. It was very professionally done.
It was very good.
So a great book. But just so you guys will know, like we've already mentioned, it's research driven, which is great. It tells a lot of statistics and just how I think the biggest part of this book is trying to get inside the head, get inside the psyche of people, and to
Of the other spouse, too.
understand. That's right, to understand the differences in how we are wired, and a lot of times it's not necessarily that we're not on the same page or we don't have the same desires or wants or needs. It's just we're not wired the same way, and because we're not wired the same way, then we don't understand each other, and we
Right.
don't understand why.
Yeah.
And we are the perfect. I mean, we're a great example of this book because of the differences in the way we're wired. The other thing that I thought, and we've been recommending this book to so many people, and part of it is because we come into contact with so many that the stereotypical marriage where the husband has the high sex drive and the wife is a lower sex drive. A lot of people we deal with
Are backwards.
have flip flopped that.
I shouldn't say they're backwards.
Right,
It's the opposite of that.
because it's still a significant number of people. I mean, even the
Absolutely.
research says it's about 75-25, and I mean, still 1 out of 4 is. I mean, that's a significant
Yep.
number. You know, I
Yep.
mean, that's close to Hall of Fame numbers if you bat that batting average. If you bat 300, you're going to the Hall of Fame.
Okay.
So there.
Well, and you've said, I've heard you say several times that it was like one eye-opening part for you was you thinking, how can she not think about sex a bunch of times a day like you do? Like, how is that even possible? But to read that that's very possible.
Yeah.
That it's not that it's not that I'm thinking about it and rejecting you. I just literally have not thought about it.
Yeah.
And I don't know, there's just something. I think it's the reason why a lot of people listen to our podcast is because it's good to hear somebody else say you're not abnormal. Like, this is okay. This is normal. And when you were like, what do you want to say about this book? The only way I know how to judge a book,
Don't judge a book by its cover. It's a nice
I
cover.
see what you
It's a
did
nice
that.
cover.
Yep. But what I felt about the book is taking something that I learned and was able to apply. And I mean, I have notes. Like, there were lots of notes that I took in this book, but I just wanted to tell the one thing that really, really, really stuck out to me that I was like, this is good. And it's me thinking, and this is wrong thinking. You ready? Me thinking that I need to get to your level of desire for frequency for our marriage or for our sex life to be healthy. Let me say that again. I thought until I read this book that for our sex life to be healthy and for our marriage to be healthy in that way, I needed to get to your level of desire of frequency. And they said that's not true. Like, I don't have to change my level of desire for frequency to yours to make it healthy. It's a balance. It's me working towards your level and you working towards my level to make that a sweet spot for us. And it says, so the goal, this is the other note I took to go along with that. The goal is to work together with the type of desire that we each have to come together well for the health of our intimate life and the marriage. And so it's taking the desire that God put in us, or that through, not just that God has put in us, but through things that we've walked through and journeys through. All of those things, our past, our trauma, our hurts, our joys, all of those things play a part in our current desire for sex. And so taking that and being okay with that, but working towards the other spouses to find a healthy balance in that.
Well, I'll piggyback on that because one of the things that I thought was really fascinating was when they were talking about the different levels of desire and how, the one spouse that has a higher level, one spouse may have a lower level, because most marriages are like that, have the, one and the other. And it said that if you ask the one that has the higher sex drive how many times a week would they want to have sex, their response typically would be 2 to 3 times a week. If you ask the one with the lower sex drive how many times a week do they think is adequate or what you should be having, they say
One to
1 to
two.
2 times a week. So 2
There's
and
a common
2
number.
2 and 2 are the same thing. And like I
Yep.
fit in that because if you asked me, I would probably say, "Oh yeah, 2 to 3 times a week that'd be great." And I think that if you
Yeah.
asked you, it would
I
be
would.
1 to 2
Two,
times a week. And so then all of a sudden I'm like 2 times a week? Put it on the calendar.
Right.
Let's do that. You know, that's
And sometimes it might be 3, and
Sometimes
sometimes
that's
it
right,
might be 1.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
all of that to say, you're probably not near as far off. It's just the getting there, you know.
Right.
And I don't know. It's a great book.
Ooh, can I share one more? You probably
Sure.
wanted this to be 5 minutes, and it's
That's
not.
okay.
But it said people with receptive desire often must choose to engage sexually before they feel aroused.
Yeah.
And that was fascinating to me. Like if you're the one like me, that it's not a constant, oh, I desire that. But if I make a choice to engage sexually, then I feel aroused. But it's not, but I have to make that choice.
Right. You're not always aroused and then
Right.
pursue sex.
Exactly.
It's let's get and I think that's the same for a lot of couples.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I think it's a great point that sometimes you make that
Effort.
step and that effort and there's never, I mean, honestly, I think that most couples fall into the category where that afterwards very rarely do you go, well, that wasn't a good idea.
Yeah.
I mean,
and
why,
not only
why would we do that?
Yeah.
That wasn't a good idea. I mean,
And you used to say, I agree with it about sex, but you used to say that about running. You would say to me, if you'll just go running, you're not going to get home and be like, oh, I wish I hadn't done that. But I do that all the time. I don't like to run.
are you comparing that?
No,
sex?
I'm just saying it's true this time. It's true about sex, not about running.
All right. So if you can wrap your head around all of that nonsense. All right. Hey, get the book if you haven't read it yet. Highly recommended. It is a really good book. So put it on your bookshelf, take it off your bookshelf and read it, and then put it on there so you can read it again later.
Because it's in May, because we're already mid-May, the May book, I'm halfway through it. It's really good.
Ooh.
I really like it a lot.
If you don't know what it is,
Go find out.
Craig Groeschel.
Oh, I
and
thought
Amy
you were going to
Groeschel.
make him go find it out.
Where are they gonna,
From this day forward,
from this day forward.
I'm listening to it on audiobook.
Oh, nice.
And it's really good. They read it.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's really cool. I like it a lot.
All right. Hey,
See y'all
thanks for
next
tuning
time.
in. Seen you next time. Later.
Peace.